was invited to come and give this speech, I asked my friends on Twitter and on Facebook and on Instagram what I should tell you. It's a very interesting theme, and it's something I wish I had the opportunity to participate in when I left university in 2004. So I asked, and the central feedback I got from almost everybody that was commenting was, just tell them your story. It's easy to look at Gen Z today and not relate with where Gen Zs are, but we've all been there. We've been teenagers, we've been early adults and all of that. And I come from a background where it was impossible to dream. Coming here this morning, I was reading a book, A Child of Two Worlds. It's the autobiography of a Kenyan named Mugo Gatheru. I suggest that you read it if you've not. I read that book for the first time when I was about 15 years old. I don't remember how I came across the book, but I read it, and the name stuck. And I grew up in a place called Okokomaiko. Does anyone here know where that is? Either I haven't been or have an idea where that is. So I grew up on Syracuse Street in Okokomaiko in a polygamous family. And ambition and big dreams were not the kind of things that were easy for you to come by. You just wanted to just, live each day as it comes. I didn't think I would make it to university. And at a point, I didn't want to go to university. But I found literature. The more I started reading, the easier it was for me to write. And reading took me around the world. So before I left my parents' house in Okokomaiko, I'd been everywhere. I've been to America, been to Europe, I've been anywhere, from all the books that I read, And it was not until 1999 that I went to university to study microbiology. But before then, I'd done so much. The 5 years I spent at home post-secondary school, because, I don't know how it works these days, but in our time, you literally had to write JAM like 3 or 4 or 5 times, right? So although I'd passed my papers in 1994, I didn't get to go to university until 1999. And ASU was even on strike for like a year, so we lost a year, right? But those years I stayed at home were the years that really, really formed me. Because those were the years I discovered writing. I started writing for magazines. Those were the years I discovered television and radio, and I was just doing everything. And by the time I went to university, my career path was set. I knew I wanted to work in the creative industry. I was clear about it. But most African parents at the time, again, I'm not sure how it is now, but the parents wanted it to either be a doctor or to be an engineer or to be a lawyer. So my parents insisted, well, you have to get us this medicine degree. We really don't care if you use it or not. That was what drove my 5-year attempt to go to university to study medicine. Of course, I failed. And in 1999, when I went eventually, I went to study microbiology, But by the time I was leaving, I had no concern about what was going to happen with my life. I knew what I wanted to do. I was clear about it. So when I was told to come here this morning, I put myself in your shoes and I said, when I was leaving school in 2004, where was I? And where would I want you to be this morning, or tomorrow, or the week after, or the month after? Because traditional education teaches us so many things. Most of the concepts that we know, the knowledge that we have, right? Science, economics, mathematics, engineering, the fundamentals. You get it from traditional education. Okay, but you come back into life and you realize that, I'm sorry, it's a different ballgame entirely. And it's not strange. When you're in primary school, they told you just work hard, you're going to go to secondary school and your problems are over, right? In secondary school too, they just tell you, just get your credit, get your degree, you're good. And then you go to university, we are telling you the same thing, we just have distinction, you're good, you're employers. But that's not it, I'm sorry. So traditional university provided for me the structure that I needed around how to live my life, how to be disciplined. I made a lot of friends, most of them are still my friends today, right? But what it didn't do for me, that the years before university and the years after did for me, was understanding life, the world of work, business. And by the time I left in 2004, I knew I wanted to work in the media. I knew I wanted to start a business, but I knew I had to work first to get experience. I probably worked for about 2 years. I left university in 2004. My business was started in 2006, to give you an idea of how prepared I was. Now, if you go back to Okokomaiko, I was born a stammerer. I had a lot of, it's called topical dermatitis. I had acne. I was not the kind of guy that goes anywhere for anything to happen to. I had self-doubt, I had confidence issues. I wasn't really sure of myself. And fast forward, 5 years later, I was so confident that although I was working for the biggest magazines and newspapers in the country, I was so confident to say to myself, I think I want to go and do my own thing. So when everybody said, tell them your story, I decided that what I will come here to tell you this morning is that you can be anything that you want to be. It's cliche. Everybody says that, right? But don't think that the traditional path has to be, I've left university now, or I'm leaving, I'm going to do NYSC and I will get a job. Or I have to get a master's. Or I left university I left with the third class, by the way. So if you're not a first class student or you're not on the station, don't think, oh. And I keep telling people, nobody would have hired me. I had a third class. When I left university, you couldn't get any sensitive job if we were not a 2-1 graduate, not even 2-2. I left with a third class. Don't forget, I didn't want to go. I left with a third class, and I tell my colleagues now today that don't look down on yourself. When I left school, nobody would have hired me. Today, I've built a business hiring hundreds of people in different parts of the world. I tell them also that when I started my PR business in 2006, no PR company in Nigeria would have hired me. I had never entered a PR company before. I had no idea how PR was run. I just had it in my head. None of the PR agencies of that time, when I started, can stand shoulder to shoulder with us today. So it's not often always what it looks like. So we created a policy at BHM. We really don't care if you've gone to school or what degrees you had. Just come. So certifications are good, degrees are good. By all means, please get a first class. Because exceptions are not always the norm. But were it to happen that you find yourself not where you want to be, don't just think, oh, I grew up in Okokomaiko, I had a third class, I had a pass, or I studied microbiology, but I really wanted to be a painter. Or I want to be a political scientist, but my parents made me study economics, and so on and so forth. What you take out of here is a combination of so many things. The knowledge that you have been given, the people that you've met. There are presidents here, governors here, CBN governors here, bank MDs here, entrepreneurs here. You really don't know where anybody would end, right? But the most important thing that you can take away is that being crazy enough in your head to believe that whatever it is that you want to do, that you can do it. And as you begin to set that path, you begin to determine what needs to happen next. What needs to happen next, right? So the environment we are in today is a bit different from even 5 years ago. You have more advantages now in your generation to do better than the people 5 years before, 10 years before, 20 years before. Because of technology, the world has become smaller, right? 5 years ago, you could count on your fingers the number of Nigerian engineers, software developers working for companies in America. Today, you can be in your house in Ajah or in Ogbomoso, and you're working for a company in San Francisco, and you're earning dollars and pounds, right? Today, there are people whose business is on Instagram or on TikTok. There's so much that you can do today. You can conform with the system. There's nothing wrong with it. Your path can be, I'm going to get a job, I'm going to grow through the career ladder and spend 20 years and become CEO or director. It's okay, it's valid. But you are no longer restricted to only be that way. My father was upset when I decided to work in the creative space. What he understood, he loved me, and he kept saying, you work in a company, you retire, you get your pension. Anything else, you are just being unserious. What are you talking? You are planning events, you are very unserious. Based on their generation, that was their understanding. And I was just a rebel, and I didn't want to work for any 30 years and retire and earn any pension and all of that. I didn't even want to go to the office and carry files. I was on the streets. Today, there are more parents who are aware of that diversity of opportunities and who are more open-minded to you doing what you want to do. But you as an individual, you're going to get drawn in so many directions. Which ones are opportunities? Which ones are a distraction? Which one do you think makes you whole? Which one are you doing just because of money? Right? But the opportunities you have today, that social media presents, that technology presents, that innovation presents, that the world becoming smaller presents, you can literally be anywhere. It's become almost impossible, except circumstances that you can't control stop you. It's become almost impossible for you not to find yourself and not only thrive but make the world better. So my advice to you is to look at Ayeni in 1995. I don't know how old I was, but I'm sure I wasn't 20 years old, right? And imagine where Ayeni was going to, right? Stammerer, skin issues, poor family, cut off from everywhere, and this guy was just reading books. And he had no idea who he was. Literally had no idea who he was. And he ends up going to university at a time when what was fashionable was to leave school and work in a bank. You had to either work in Zenith Bank or all those other banks, or go and work in the oil and gas companies. That was it. Nobody was trying to be a musician or trying to be a comedian at the time. There was no social media. Nobody was trying to be a makeup artist. No. But deep down inside me, I knew that what I wanted to do, I wanted to write books, I wanted to write articles, I wanted to write novels, I wanted to travel, I wanted to work in music and film and art. And I followed that. I was very stubborn. I followed that. Now, I want you to understand that when I painted that way, it seemed like I was very smart. I knew what I was doing. I knew what I wanted. But don't forget that I had a third class. If I had had a first class in microbiology, maybe my path would have changed. Because I suddenly realized that, yes, I like this, but then I was unemployable. So again, at times, what could prove to be a challenge or a misfortune, okay, could actually be something that could lead you to a path that you should have been ab initio. All right? Studying microbiology worked for me. Having a third class worked for me. Being a stammerer worked for me. Everything that could have held me back were things that I channeled to get to where I am today. Today, 2023 minus 2004, that's 19 years, right? Our business is probably maybe 17 years or 18 years this year, right? When I look back, there's no other way I would have done it. And I just want to encourage you. You've had the opportunity. I know PAU is a very prestigious school, likely one of the most expensive, if you permit me to use the word, by all definitions, universities to attend in the country today. You have an opportunity to come out and do three things, and I'll lay them down as I round up. The first thing is to discover yourself. Why am I here? What am I trying to do? It's very important because it affects everything else. The second thing is to please, and I apologize, madam, chase all the opportunities that you can chase and make all the money that you can make. I didn't care about money. I didn't care about business. I was a creative who would do anything. Money does not matter. I was very shy about money. The world punishes you eventually for not having money. The world punishes you. The world encourages you to not care about money and doesn't teach you financial literacy early on in life. But you grow older in life, you realize that you have to pay your way through everything. The best opportunities, the best lifestyles, everything that you want. But more importantly, if you truly, truly want to affect your generation and you believe in your country or your state or your tribe or your culture or your school and all of that, then you can throw that money at them. And if you come from a place like Nigeria, where we literally don't have roads and good schools and water, every problem that you can think of still affects us today. So even if you don't care about the money, imagine what you can do with it. The third thing is to be passionate about Nigeria. Now, number one and number two helps you in a lot of ways to do number three, right? One of the greatest countries in the world, bedeviled by all the issues that we know, right? And I asked a question after an interview yesterday. Somebody interviewed me and said I had to suggest a question for the next guest. And I asked, how do you solve the Nigeria problem? How? You can see the opportunity. 200 million plus people, fantastic weather, fantastic geography. We have natural resources. Some of the most hardworking, smartest people in the world, right? Everything is to our advantage. How comes it then that we're where we are today, right? And what I've been encouraging people to do, whether you live in Nigeria or you move abroad, is to add it as part of your life's mission, that in what way could I contribute to the rescuing of Nigeria? Now, I said, find yourself. If you don't even know yourself or know why you're here, you can't help yourself, and then you can't help anybody. And then I said, please make money. Don't, any job that can pay you 100 naira, don't do it for 10 naira. Right? Be deliberate about the opportunities and what you can do with the resources that those opportunities bring. Because you will need that money, either for yourself or for Nigeria. But what I find more important that those two can help is, maybe there are leaders in this room today that can transform the country. There are leaders that can transform, and you see, you don't have to be able to fix Nigeria. Maybe you can fix your own company, or fix your street, or fix your own community, right? But we're sitting on one of the most significant opportunities in the world to build a country that the rest of the world will look up to and be proud of, that will inspire the world. America did it. And we have everything, right? But if you look at the economy, and you look at our society, and you look at where we are, you keep asking yourself, okay, how did we get here? But that's the wrong question. The question I've started asking is, how do we get out of here? How do we solve that problem? All right? Most of these things, I didn't have an inkling when I left university. I wish I had an opportunity to have attended a career fair, to have listened to people who've been in the space speak and all of that. You know, we've made a lot of mistakes. We've learned along the journey. We are still learning. And the problem with Nigeria is that oftentimes there's not enough information out there that you can find if you really, really want to know. But I think you guys have been blessed with the kind of faculty that you had, with the kind of access to information that you have. And if you live here with nothing today, please just live here with those three key things. Find yourself, go deep inside, just understand who you are, why you are here, what's important to you, where you want to be. Position yourself to be able to get opportunities and get the resources from those opportunities, right? And finally, when you do get those opportunities and you become Chimamanda or Wole Soyinka or Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala and what have you, understand that we have a responsibility to play our part in fixing Nigeria. Thank you.